Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Yesterday, Jay and Nick were up to their eyeballs in a meeting, and Jay wasn't able to come on the show with me yesterday. And I asked him, since there was so much concerning the breaking news with the Arkansas Supreme Court, one, reinstating the LEARNS Act lawsuit brought by the four activists. And then the second part of it was the Supreme Court overruled the Pulaski County Circuit Court judge who said that the parents, the three parents that had an injury, were unable to join the lawsuit as defendants, and the Supreme Court reversed that. Now, Jay, welcome to the show, first of all.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's good to be with you. I hated to miss yesterday, but I'm glad we were able to talk today because, like you said, there's been a lot of news this week.
Absolutely. Now, I would be remiss, and I'm going to embarrass you a little bit, but that's okay. What are friends for? First, I want to congratulate you on your run for St. Jude's Hospital over in Memphis. You completed the marathon. And then second, a little bird whispered in my ear that you raised quite a bit of money also for St. Jude's. And I know you're humble about things. So congratulations first on completing the marathon. And second, well done, sir, on raising all that money.
I appreciate that a lot, Steve. I'm by no means an athlete, so it was an accomplishment for me just to finish, but I was most proud about being able to raise money for St. Jude. It's really a great charity. I think overall the entire weekend, about $16 million was raised to support the hospital. So it was a great cause, and I was glad to be part of it.
Yes, and I haven't mentioned his name, but my little buddy from Oklahoma City, whose grandma and grandpa are fans that live down in Hot Springs, Carlson, Dimsdale, fought cancer so valiantly. And then just after his 13th birthday, Jesus called him home to heaven. And so I've been a longtime supporter myself of St. Jude's. They do God's work in trying to help these children with cancer and not charging the families.
Absolutely. It was one of the highlights of the race. We raced through the campus, and they actually had a lot of the patients come out and their families help cheer us on. I think if I'd been running any other race, I know that I would have quit a lot of times along the way, but as hard as it was to run a marathon, it's nothing compared to what those kids go through. And just can't say enough good things about the work they do there.
Yes. Okay, so I got to say good things about the work Opportunity Arkansas has done. So let's begin with, let's get your thoughts on the Supreme Court decisions that were released yesterday. I was hoping that the lawsuit was dismissed, but the justices didn't see it that way.
Yeah, so the ruling, as you mentioned earlier, had two really key components. The first was that they're going to allow the lawsuit to proceed. And basically, the state tried to claim that it couldn't be sued for this under sovereign immunity. The justices ruled against that and sent the case back down to trial court where the case will be tried. But the good news here is that they didn't decide on the merits of the case itself. So this was not a decision that was rendered on the arguments the plaintiffs have brought forth to try and stop this program. It was basically on legal grounds to say that the plaintiffs do have legal grounds to continue the suit. And the other piece of this decision, which you mentioned earlier, which is really a win, is that they reversed the lower court's decision that would have prevented these parents who are using education freedom accounts from participating in the lawsuit. And it's really rich if you think about it, because these folks who have brought this suit have been opponents of education freedom from the get-go. You know, we refer to these folks as the coalition of the way we've always done things. And their only standing that they've claimed here is that they are parents of or guardians of kids in the public school system. And yet they tried to argue against allowing parents, education freedom parents, joining the suit on the other side. So it was a big win that these education freedom parents are going to be allowed to participate and have their voice heard as part of this process. And we're hopeful that, this will result in allowing EFAs to continue. The legal arguments here are frankly pretty well settled. I mean, every time education freedom or school choice programs from other states have gone to the U.S. Supreme Court, it's been upheld. And this is really just a representation of folks who don't see what's happening in the state right now, which is that education freedom is working. Parents love it. They want more of it. And that's part of what Opportunity Arkansas is here for, is to help be a voice for parents to defend their interests and to defend education freedom when it comes under attack like this.
Yeah, and just, I know you were tied up, so you didn't hear me talk about this yesterday, but I had a listener text me in from Vermont that said a smaller school district outside of Burlington put up the Somali flag in protest. Then the San Jose High School kids made a swastika on the football field, a human swastika. And then in North Carolina, the Republican Senate Majority Leader in the state Senate out there was excoriating the people from Charlotte over the transgenderism stuff that they were pushing in schools. It's prohibited from kindergarten through fourth grade, and then after beginning of fifth grade, the parents can still opt out, and they're supposed to give them the information. And of course, they weren't doing that. And this senator read some of the stuff that I couldn't even read it on the air, Jay. It was that horrific and incorrect. And that they're doing this to such young children is another reason why parents are upset. But a big reason is the failure of some public school systems to actually educate children. I don't know how the Baltimore public schools get away with it, but they have a collective D graduating average from their schools. And I don't care what ethnicity or skin color a person has, I would say the overwhelming, if not 99.99% of parents want their children to receive a good, thorough education so they can make something out of themselves someday. And I think this is what's involved in this too.
That's absolutely right. And, it's one of the reasons that Arkansans should be so proud of this education freedom account program that we have. I mean, we're really leading the country in this. And when we talk about why do parents choose education freedom, well, it's clearly working. We've got almost 50,000 students across the state participating today. And it can be for a multitude of reasons. It can be that their kids just aren't learning in the public school that they're in. It can be that their kids are getting bullied and it's not being addressed. It could just be that their kids learn better in a different environment. But one of the reasons that doesn't get talked about enough is that what education freedom does, it allows the parents to take the tax dollars that would have gone to educate their kids and direct it to a place that's suiting their needs. And sometimes that can be about just ensuring their kids are getting an education that aligns with their values. And without education freedom, you can be stuck in a public school system where maybe your kids are being taught things that are contrary to your values. I think it's one of the problems we have is that we have a generation that too often has not been given the civic education about what it means to be an American. And education freedom really allows parents to take back control and make those decisions to ensure that their kids are learning, they're in a safe environment, and they're really getting the education that aligns with their values, which is important for Arkansas. And it's the reason that we talk so much about defending this program, because it's working, and we shouldn't take these opportunities away from parents because they're the ones who ultimately are best suited to make these decisions about their kids.
Absolutely. And about the civic part of the education, I would say it's quite the contraire, that these teachers are trying to indoctrinate them into Marxism and communism and transgenderism, and that's not in alignment with the overwhelming majority of the people. Now, I will tell you one thing. I've got a lot of teachers that listen to this show, And I heard from several of them yesterday that said, Steve, I can assure you that there would be no one in our school district encouraging children to go out and make a swastika, a human swastika, to protest Jewish kids. And I believe that in Arkansas. Now, do I think there are some teachers that are teaching in this state that are capable of doing something like that, or anti-American, or America's a horrible country? Yes. I do believe that, there's enough of a demographic, if you will, of teachers that, you're going to cut across all spectrums of politically. But yeah, I think that is so important. And it's like I said, when they remove prayer from public schools in the 60s and some of the other stuff, my parents elected to pay their school taxes. And then, my siblings and I, we went to the church that we belonged to in New Jersey, had its own grammar school and high school. And, each morning we got up and we prayed and thanked God. And then we said a pledge of allegiance to the flag. And then we sang either the Star Spangled Banner or God Bless America or My Country 'Tis of Thee, depending on what day of the week it was. And so, yes. And, even though it was a Catholic school, we had several Protestant parents that sent their kids there for, one, the education, and two, because they knew that they would be taught to love the country. And we even had one Jewish kid that was in school. And, the sisters or the lay teachers never forced them to go to church with us unless they wanted to. And most of the time they wanted to go along with everybody else. And, they didn't change their denomination. I happen to know both are still, of my Protestant friends that I went to school with are still Protestants, not Catholics, but we're all Christians. So, yes, I get that.
Yeah.
Jay, can we pause for just a quick second? We got that traffic, and we want to make sure we get our listeners home safely.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll be right back with Jay Robertson, ladies and gentlemen. But in the meantime, let's check in with Paul on the traffic. All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Finnegan Show here on Newsradio 1029 KARN. On the newsmaker line on the American Leak Detection is Jay Robertson from Opportunity, Arkansas. Now, Jay, one of the things before we run out of time, and I know we zoom through our questions and answer periods, but right now the State Department of Education is also trying to make things more difficult, and the legislature has not asked for these rules that they're doing. And so we all, as citizens, have an opportunity to respond to this about these education freedom accounts. So can you go a little bit into that and how people and parents can respond?
Yeah, so this is something we've been tracking for several weeks now. So we mentioned earlier, this is the first year education freedom is open to all families across Arkansas. And unfortunately, we've seen some movement to try and restrict this program and limit options for parents. We saw some bills this session that would have done that. And from that, we've had this new rule filed by the Department of Education that would basically ban parents from using their education freedom dollars for team sports, which is not something that the legislature asked for. It's certainly not something that we've heard parents ask for. And it would essentially, if you'll excuse the pun here, move the goalposts on parents who have bought into this program, that are participating in this program, that have made commitments for their kids this school year. This rule would essentially change the rules on these parents and take that option away. So we filed a public comment. Opportunity Arkansas did this week. You can go to our website to check that out. And comments are still open till the 16th. So if you're a parent or citizen that also has concerns about limiting options for education freedom in Arkansas, you can submit a public comment. It can just be an email. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. You can go to our website, opportunityarkansas.org. You can see our comments there and the issues we pointed out with this rule. And we would encourage people to go and submit comments if they're concerned as well, because as we said, this program's working. Nearly 50,000 students are participating today. We've done polling on this program recently that shows over 80% of parents support education freedom. There's majority support for keeping this program broad and flexible. And unfortunately, this rule would move us in the wrong direction. So they're going to be accepting comments through Tuesday, and then we'll see the state board take action on that, and hopefully they reverse some of these changes to ensure that parents are kept in charge. Absolutely.
Well, Jay, I do appreciate you coming on today and bringing everybody up to speed on this.
Absolutely. It's something we talk about a lot at Opportunity Arkansas. Education freedom matters because for too long we've just had a one-size-fits-all option that doesn't serve parents. And the surest way to ensure that our next generation is prepared is to put parents back in charge and put students first instead of systems.
Yes. All right, Jay. Well, we'll see you on your regular time next Thursday, and I appreciate you being on with us today.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Take care, buddy. Bye.